Are you ready for the weekend yet? We have events, news, and a guest for you to enjoy this Lake Life weekend. Hello and welcome to another episode of Lake Life Weekend Podcast. This is Dirk and I'm your host, and we are approaching weekend 22, June 1st this Friday. And summer, I think, has arrived. I'm a little late. It's Wednesday when I record this, and it's extremely nice out. And tomorrow, I think we're hitting the 80s. So, get ready for open water lake life. Jump in. Whoever sends me a picture of swimming over Instagram, tags us. This weekend, I will send them a gift. Yep, I just made that up, but you know what? Whoever is going to jump in, I don't know if Harry is going to jump in. Maybe Oscar is going to jump in this weekend for the first time. He has not been swimming yet with us, but we'll see. It's a little cold still yet. Maybe if you follow us on Instagram, we got a new old boat. We bought a 1994 Forester, replaced our Checkmate 1977. Let's see what kind of film and picture material we can do with that this summer season. We are really excited. So thanks again for tuning in, and we are excited for strawberry season to come. The strawberry patch here near Perham will open very soon. You can follow Otterberry on Facebook, and they will announce they are picking dates, and there's a hotline and all that. You will hear from Kris and Cordell their story on how they came up with the concept, the idea, all about strawberries and their little big corn maze. A really fun, cute story. We've been there last year a couple times, so I'm glad we were able to capture that. Please also go to our website, lakelifeweekend.com, for latest updates on events. Every day we post something. There's lots happening in this area. As you know, more and more people are going to come visit us, so we are welcoming all our guests. Thank you, and I hope you find your way around, and maybe we can be of help. If you have any ideas, suggestions, information we should share for you, feel free to email us to hello@lakelifeweekend.com. And we are going into print with our new magazine this Friday also, and we hope to have it on the stands second week of June, so please stay tuned for that. Email us if you want a copy mailed to you. We can do that, absolutely no problem. Otherwise, you'll find it at all the Hornbarkers and Fargo Moorhead, various locations here in Lakes Country, hotels, gas stations, restaurants. Yeah. Take a look out for that. Thank you again for tuning in, and now stay tuned for our story about Otterberry Farms. Thank you. Have a great weekend ahead. Welcome to our interview part. I'm here with Kris and Cordell Huebsch. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad I got to get you into our little recording studio because it's pre-farming season, and I remember last year you got very busy with harvest when I reached out for the first time, and I visited your your corn maze and your small farm with the kids. I was there with my son Harry, and I got to meet you. Before we talk about Otterberry, that's a family farm that you have grown. Tell us a little bit more about where you're from and how you got into farming and all those things. Maybe Kris starts, or Cordell?
Okay.
Yeah,
I can. So I'm not originally from Minnesota, but Cordell is, and I'll let him explain kind of our family farm where we're currently at, because it's technically his family, but we both have a farming background. I grew up in Ohio, northeast of Cleveland, and I grew up on a dairy farm. It's a Century farm out in Ohio, so my family's been in the farming business pretty much forever.
Century farm means 100 years old?
Yes, so out in Ohio, and our farm here in Minnesota is a Century farm also, so both of our families have been farming for a very, very long time. So it's kind of in our blood, I guess. But yeah, so I grew up in Ohio, and Cordell and I actually met out in Montana, in Bozeman. We both went to college at Montana State University. So that's how we met.
for agriculture?
Yeah, I have a bachelor's degree in actually animal science. But it's a very well-rounded program. You do a lot of agronomy, ag business, chemistry classes, that kind of thing, as well as animal husbandry type stuff. So, yeah, that's what my degree is in.
Is that breeding or what?
Yeah, we do. They cover all sorts of how to care for animals, basically, feeding, genetics, breeding, so that you have better quality animals, that kind of thing. And then also the business aspect, so lots of business classes, accounting.
It's amazing. It's a real formal education.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a city boy, and I really don't know anything. And when I look at those farms, and we have a lot of farms here, and also with the NDSU tradition, which is an agricultural college, it's a business. I mean, like operating a farm nowadays is not just planting some seeds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. So I have a 4 years bachelor's degree in animal science is what I majored in, but they focus on all sorts of stuff. We did plant identification, all sorts of different types of things. So
obviously your goal was to be living and operating a farm. I mean, you didn't.
Yeah, I always have wanted to be in agriculture. It's just kind of one of those things. I think as a kid, you see what your folks do, and so you kind of more have a tendency to lean towards what their occupation is, maybe, as you grow up. And it just seemed kind of like a natural fit, and I love being outside, and yeah, it's fun.
And now your parents miss you in Ohio because you did not take over the family farm.
Right, yeah. Well, I have 2 siblings in Ohio, and they both actually live right down the street. My brother lives at the family farm. My parents live down the road a mile, and my sister lives down the road the other way a mile. So they're all still right there. But I do remind them I am 1,000 miles closer to home. Minnesota is closer, so it's only a day and a half drive now. So not too bad. Yeah.
Then Montana.
Yeah. Then Montana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
So you two met in Montana and Bozeman, and you were part of the same program, Cordell?
I actually went to college to become a mechanical engineer, and I was a good chunk of the way through, and they flew us out to Boeing, and we toured the factory and what we'd probably end up doing, and just kind of had this epiphany that the cubicle wasn't really what I was looking for, right? So I switched, and I ended up getting a ag business econ major and minor. So in the back of my mind, it's funny because the reason I went to Montana was to put 800 miles between me and my farm, correct? See,
me too.
I was set to go to college in Fargo, but I figured if I was in Fargo, I'd be home every weekend.
Too close.
Working, too close. So, but there was an opportunity back here at our family farm to come back, and so...
Wait.
Oh.
I like that because it's usually, you try to experience life and you want to disconnect.
Yeah.
It's part of life. So you leave and you get a lot of exposure. You meet people in Bozeman. You see a different world. And then you went to Washington, I guess. That's where Boeing sits, isn't it? By Seattle?
Yeah, right up in Seattle.
And so you saw the other industrial world.
Right.
And then you decided Minnesota is the place to be. Yeah,
yeah, something like that. So.
Or did she convince you?
No.
How did that happen?
No, he convinced me to move here.
Okay.
Minnesota wasn't on my top list of states. It was an obscure place to me, like, where? Oh, by Fargo? Oh, what?
That movie thing?
Yeah, exactly. That's what my parents said. Wait, what? Like, it's not like that, Mom.
Yeah, how did that happen? So when was that, by the way? When did we...
Early 2000s.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, we've lived here a long time now.
Yeah. So, but it's funny because if you're gonna court somebody and convince them to move to Pahrump, the best time to make that happen is the summertime, right?
Yes.
So you don't bring them back in January. You bring them back for the boating season and all the fun things that we have to offer here. And so that was the plan of attack, and it worked. Thank goodness.
Yeah, I think his whole family was involved. Like, I would come visit and we'd go fishing and do all these fun activities. And I was like, wow, your farm's different than my farm was. Like, we didn't do fun stuff. We were always working, And then we moved here, and I was like, wait a minute.
That's
your guys' farm is just like my farm. You tricked me. Like, I think his dad was like, sure, go take her fishing. That's okay.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so.
It all worked out, though.
Yeah.
So.
And So you grew up working every day, because dairy is, I think, one of the worst farming, because it's really every day.
Yeah,
correct?
you're married to the farm. Yeah,
You're
you're
married-
milking cows, twice a day, and you're in the summertime growing crops to feed them, and in the wintertime you're fixing stuff, and you're still milking them twice a day. And so,
Yeah.
our farm was very small and supported my immediate family, and then my dad farmed with his dad and his dad's brother, his uncle.
Okay.
And so there was 3 families basically that were being supported by this teeny tiny
Wow.
little dairy farm. So it was, tight margins for sure, and it always is,
Right.
in dairy farming.
Especially-
But lots of work, not very many, vacations, but looking back, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
No, you learned all the skills that you put today's farm, and so today you are not doing dairy or meat. You tell me a little bit about the Huebsch family farm and what became Otter Berry.
Otterberry Farm, right? Well, so I guess we still operate. So I'll just back up. We are a fourth generation farm. My father's father came actually from down in the Olivia area, some of the best soil on the planet, right? And I try to imagine what it was like for him. He had a lot of brothers and sisters, not enough room to stay there, so he emigrated up to the Perm area. To go from that soil to the sand we farm around here must have been a real, challenge, right? If you think about
1910, or when did that happen?
Yeah, that happened. Grandpa was born in 1903, and it happened right around when he was. What would it have been? It would have been about
somewhere around there.
18, I think, 17 or 18.
Okay,
So-
before the Depression. So did they get land by gift? How did that happen back in the day?
Back in
Homesteaded?
Yeah, there was homesteading. The land we were on was not homesteaded by my family. Grandpa's father actually bought the farm we were on, so he bought it.
Your great grandfather.
Yeah, so that'd be my great grandfather, right? And so, but they when they came up here, pretty much everybody was on 80 acres on a dairy, a self-sustaining kind of deal. Grandpa did milk until the end, but he saw that it was a tough road to hoe, basically, right? The dairy world. So he actually got into turkeys pretty early, and was and then my uncle, they kind of took and dad too. They all took the turkeys and kind of ran with it. They experimented with hogs, and then the turkeys is what they kind of settled in on. Sometime in this is going to be stretching the history. I'm not exactly sure on the years, but I think it was in the 60s when the family kind of split, and my Uncle Fred went to the left with turkeys, and my dad went to the right with the crop farming. Okay, so one uncle went into poultry, and my dad went into crop farming, and he grew corn and beans, and found a kind of a niche market at the time. He started growing dark red kidney beans, which we still grow to this day, and now it's a staple crop in this area, right? And so. So that's what's kept our farm afloat for all these years, is that dark red kidney bean, and we still grow that today on a scale. And when Kris and I came back, I have 2 brothers and a sister, and we are all here in the same area. And so Kris and I just kind of decided that we wanted to find a little niche, right? Because it seems like in agriculture you can go the commodity route, but if you go the commodity route in agriculture today, you have to be aware that it's all about economies of scale, right? You just have to have, the margins are so tight, you just need to get bigger, or you need to find a way to make a little more with less, right?
Sure.
And so that kind of led to our idea, right?
So you tried to find a niche, and that was strawberries?
Yeah. So Cordell still farms with his brothers, corn and kidney beans, and the timing kind of works perfectly for planting and harvest and that type of thing with strawberries. And we kind of kicked that idea around for a while. And we have really sandy soil.
Yeah.
Strawberries like sandy soil. It drains well, so we don't have as much problem with disease and stuff like that. And then of course we have to irrigate it because it is so sandy. But it's nice because when we need water, we just turn the water on. Yeah. So and that's the same with like the kidney beans. They grow really well here because the soil drains away. It's not so heavy and holds all that water. So anyways, the strawberry season, planting is a little bit before we would start corn or kidney beans, and so that kind of works. And so Cordell can help and myself plant, and then he can be gone doing corn and kidney beans while I'm making sure the strawberries are growing and no weeds and that kind of thing. And about the time they're done planting everything down the street with his brothers and himself, then it's just about time to start picking strawberries. So then we have the public come out and start picking, and so the timing really works well with still being able to farm with his family, yet do something on our own also, and then having our kids involved and stuff. So it's been really good, yeah.
So we have, I mean, may I ask how many acres? So beans, is that hundreds of acres? Because you started 80 acres. That was how your grandfather started?
Yeah. So on the Huebsch farm side, we do about 2,000 acres of corn and kidney beans, and then on the berry farm we'll have 6 acres of strawberries to pick this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll also have the corn maze as well in the fall, and we'll do a few acres of pumpkins and some raspberries as well. So.
Okay. But your passion kind of is the berry.
Yeah. I mean, corn and kidney beans are fun, but
well, I don't know. Yeah, but that's business maybe more, and then the strawberry is a little sweeter.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. It is. Well, and the really cool thing about strawberries, and we didn't plan on this. We kind of just stumbled upon it when we eventually opened and invited people to the farm for our very first season. With corn and kidney beans, you're still doing all this work. You're farming, you're growing these crops, you harvest them, you bring them to town, and you're done, right?
Yeah.
Great. With strawberries, you do the same thing, except for us, people are coming to the farm, and you can see them eat the strawberry and show their kids how to pick a strawberry, and families coming and creating these traditions, and it's a completely different
it's
thing
just
to see.
with the consumer.
Exactly. And it is so cool to see people, and they keep coming back, year after year, and they're making memories, or grandpas are bringing their grandkids out, or people that are coming to the lake, and they always come during that same week every year. A lot of people are seasonal that way, and it's a new tradition for them, and to be able to see your end consumer actually consuming your product, it's so cool,
It becomes a different story all of a sudden.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, we're still growing something, and we're still feeding people or whatever, but like with the larger commodities, you take it to the elevator and
disconnect
you don't
it.
So people are coming out, and we of course pick strawberries for people, but they always try one before they leave the farm,
Right.
you see that big smile on their face and a juicy strawberry, it's just really cool.
No, it's perfect. The thing is, and that's why I was so happy to find you or connect with you. My son and I, Harry, we always go to Germany, and at the Baltic, which is actually pretty sandy too, I suppose. There's Karls, Karl''s, Karls, and I think they're probably berry farm since 1871. I have to look now. But it's probably not only 6. It's at least 60 acres, if it's not even 600 acres of berries. And like wherever you go at the Baltic, there's a Karl's hut. It's like actually it's a strawberry, which is like a shed.
Sure.
And I can show you a picture later. And And they sell those strawberries, and we are vacationing there every summer, so we always buy those strawberries. And yes, I connect vacationing, like you said, like we have obviously tourism here, and I think it's perfect that we have a strawberry farm.
Yeah.
So you say it works well, and people come. How long do they last? Like, let's talk a little strawberry, because we buy them easily, but now you have 6 acres, and you have. I mean, they spread like weeds, don't they?
Yeah, strawberries. Strawberries spread like weeds. They're actually in the rose family, the rose bush family.
Really?
Yeah. So if you have a wild rose bush at your house and it just keeps going everywhere, strawberries are kind of related to them.
Okay.
But so it's pretty labor intensive. But we plant them. We plant one little plant. It's a crown. It comes dormant. We stick it in the ground. Our setup is every 18 inches we put another plant.
Every year, new one?
Yeah. So we are on a rotation on our farm. We're on a 3 to 4 year rotation. So
what does that mean?
So we'll plant. We're gonna start planting right now. We're a little bit late this year because the spring was so late.
Yeah.
But we'll start planting new strawberry plants in a single row, about 18 inches apart, and our rows are about 4 feet apart.
Oh.
Okay. So they're 18 inches is each plant, as you're walking down a long row, and each row would be about 4 feet apart. So by the time people come out to our farm, though, like you said, they spread like weeds. They'll send out runners and daughter plants, and they fill in those rows and get nice and bushy.
Ah, yeah.
So after the thing about strawberries is if you just let them keep going, like some people have them in their backyard and it turns into this big matted field.
Yeah.
So
like a
we
carpet.
go, yeah, exactly, like a carpet, yeah. So we don't want that because we want to be able to walk through the row
Sure.
and pick and have nice, easy picking and nice rows. So after we're done picking, we renovate the strawberries. So what that entails is actually taking the lawnmower and going and mowing off the plants, right? You have
In
like a
the
look
s-
of
in the
shock on your
fall.
face. Actually, right after, in July.
Oh.
Right after. So right after we're done, and people usually drive by and they think, "Oh my gosh, did that like send
They
them over
closed
the
down.
edge? Yeah, like what's going on?
They
You know,
got
what
mad at the
happened? Yeah,
strawberries.
they lost their minds, you know, this summer. What happened?" So we mow them off, and then we take a tiller and we have to narrow those rows. So we'll make them a lot skinnier, and then turn the water back on, and they start growing like crazy. And by
Again?
the fall, by the fall, then they're nice and bushy, and they're not too wide and crazy big.
So you have 2 harvests.
Nope, just one. Just one. We have, there's different varieties of strawberries. We have June bearing, so they'll just do a one time about mid-June where we're at. I usually tell people the middle of June. Traditionally, we've opened around like the 18th or 19th of June, and we'll go through like the 4th of July. That's it. Super short season in Minnesota.
Yeah, I was gonna say. And then in the fall, you use those for the following year, or why did you till it and? They
So
become...
we till them and narrow them because how we were just talking how they'll make a big matted carpet. If you don't, they keep sending out new daughter plants
Right.
and they get wider and wider, and you won't be able to get through the rows and walk.
Okay.
So to control them and keep them under control and have those nice happy green rows that you see, right after we're done picking, we mow them off, narrow them up, so they start growing and stay within those boundaries.
So now when you're planting, this is an addition. So you
Yep,
reuse
so-
them, so you're growing your field.
So yeah.
So we do 1.5 acre sections. So after 3 years, that 1.5 acres we planted originally, we'll put that back to a cover crop, and we'll let that regrow as a rye or something to get the soil get healthy again. And we're always putting in 1.5 acres every year, and we kind of just hopscotch our way down the field. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Yep.
see. I see.
And the plants that are existing in the fall, there's no fruit at that point. That just creates a healthy plant to get ready for winter. So in the winter time, after you bed them in straw, so that's the next thing that Kris was going to talk about, is they get bedded in straw. The whole key with a strawberry plant is that crown, right about 1 inch under the soil, can never get below 20 degrees.
Oh.
And when it gets 40 below here, is it not mind-blowing?
Yeah.
That a little bit of straw, like 6 inches of straw on top of that, will keep that soil 20 degrees or warmer.
Really?
It insulates them, yeah. So in the fall, then we'll go like usually around deer hunting time is when we start to cover them. The strawberries start to chill out for the winter. They start going dormant. So then we cover them up with straw.
Yeah.
We'll go out and blow all the straw, which last year worked really good because during our corn maze we had all these cool straw bale like structures
Right.
and things.
Oh, you just reuse that.
Yeah, so we were kind of trying an experimental new way to blow straw on the field, which kind of worked and kind of didn't, but that's farming. You're always experimenting and trying new things. So, so then you cover them up with straw so that they're nice and happy, a nice winter blanket all winter long. And then in the spring, then you go and you rake it all off. And we have this clever little machine that Cordell built that will fluff the straw
There's
off.
an engineering degree
yeah,
that comes in
yeah.
handy.
Oh my gosh, she's so slick. Yeah, so yeah.
It's
So
a
there's
she. What's her
always-
name?
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't
Stephanie.
know. Yeah, right, Stephanie. I guess it is now. Yeah. Yeah.
But now I'm curious. So strawberry, I think it's just awesome. So, but it's a one bloom or one harvest crop or flower plant. I'm sorry, not a professional here. So, is there also like multiple harvests, but they just don't work so well in Minnesota, or?
Yeah, so the other option is called day neutral strawberries, and that's the kind of strawberries if you go to the grocery store. I'm going to make a sidetrack here because people should know that 95% of the strawberries consumed in the United States come from one company, a company called Driscoll's, okay? They're a multinational company based in California. They have strawberries grown all over the world. The strawberries we consume here, to be able to consume strawberries in Minnesota all times of the year, they come from all over the world.
Sure.
But they have a proprietary variety that nobody else in the world has, and their strawberries are bred to be stuck in a clamshell, put on a ship, and they need to be able to be on that ship for 2 weeks. Originally it was to get to Dubai, which took 2 weeks on a ship, and it needed to look like the day it got pulled out of the field. So when you go into the grocery store and you buy a box of strawberries, Driscoll strawberries, they're red, they're beautiful, right? They're just gorgeous. But it's like chewing on an apple, right? They're hard as a stone.
Or they're crunchy. Yeah.
And so there's nothing against that. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing.
But they're different than in Germany.
They're absolutely
they're more
different.
Juicy there. More like
and ours are juicy, but ours aren't going to ship on a boat either.
Yeah,
explain that. So they are hard here. I felt.
So the strawberries that we get at the grocery stores that are grown by this Driscoll's company and its subsidiaries, they are one variety of strawberries, and they're designed to be shipped. That's what they're designed.
They invented that? Is that like an engineered?
Well, plant breeding.
It's
and
through
genetics.
plant breeding, yeah. And I mean it's through plant breeding and genetics that they accomplish that. And it is amazing that they can do that, right? But it's one or the other. You're sacrificing. So our strawberries are nothing like those. They melt in your mouth. They are delicious, but they don't have the shelf life, right? You're not going to put them in a clamshell and ship them across the country.
What's a clamshell?
Like the plastic container, the clear plastic container. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. And so that being said, the strawberries that we grow are June bearing. The day neutrals are what they grow in California and Mexico, and they fruit all summer long. Okay, and those are grown in plasticulture. So they go and they make a row. They do it's called a raised bed. So they form the soil up into a little
like a little mound, a hill,
little elongated hill, and then they cover that hill in plastic. They bury some irrigation drip lines in the soil, and then they punch a hole in the plastic and put individual plants in. And then they basically send crews of people up and down the rows all summer long to pick these berries.
We do have a few rows of day neutral, some people call them ever-bearing strawberries. We do have a couple rows of those that we've experimented with. But in Minnesota and up in this area, people are very accustomed to like a certain picking season, and they know it's short and sweet. And so to have people come out for like a 2 to 3 week period and just go and get everything harvested is a little bit easier than strawberries here and there, because you'll end up going multiple feet to fill a bucket with day neutrals because they're not all ripe at one time. There'll still be flowers on the plant, and your flower is producing the next strawberry, and they'll be doing that all summer long. So during the corn maze we went around the strawberry patch on wagon rides. Yeah. And on some days we would stop, and some folks would jump off, and they could run through like our 3 little rows of, day neutral strawberries, and they could go pick one because there would be some out there, But
Understood.
But in June, I have little kids and been picking strawberries and stuff, and like time is of the essence, kids have a short attention span. They're having fun, but especially if you want to go home and do like any canning or preserving, and you want a lot of strawberries. To me, it's a nightmare to have this bucket, and it takes like 45 minutes to fill it up. And that's kind of what it would be with those strawberries in August, or the end of July. You would have to walk a lot further to fill your pail. And those June-bearing ones, the plant produces all of its flowers at one time. Then you get all those strawberries already at one time, and boom, you can fill a bucket in, 10 minutes, and away you go.
Okay.
yeah.
So now that seed that you're using, is that... How did you buy that, or did you build your own crossbreed?
No, the seed. We don't actually use the seed for strawberries. We're using what they call a dormant crown. So like all our plants will produce daughter plants, and a daughter plant is basically just a shoot, a vine that comes off, and then it sends down its own root. Yeah. And what they do, it's in areas where they grow these for seed or for what do they call them? Roots. What do they call them?
Plant product.
Oh, for sales, you mean?
Yeah, they're basically
for commercial scale.
They're basically harvesting daughter plants where we harvest the strawberries. They dig them up, and then they go through and they chop them up into little things. And so we're transplanting little root sections is what
of
we
your
are.
own.
So we'll get them dormant. They're like almost semi-frozen. They're dormant.
Really?
Yep, and they need to stay nice and cold, and they'll have just a tiny little top that's coming up. It doesn't even, it just looks like dead little sticks. They're brown and just horrible looking. Yeah. Then there's a crown, and then there's a root ball. And so you go sit on this transplanter and you stick them in this machine, and someone's driving the tractor and you're sticking them in and it goes and plants them, and you turn the water on, and this is the type of weather that we like because then they can slowly wake up. It's not hot and crazy.
Yep. Not in shock.
Yeah, exactly. So we actually put in plants, not seeds.
Okay.
every year.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Understood.
Yep. So.
So now we know that Otterberry is a very short business, I should say, but it's way more because I was there for the maze, and then you have rides, and then you have little animals. So what is it all? Is it like that's what Carl's is about too? Actually, it's like this. That is an amusement park. I mean, but I mean, yours was a tiny little amusement park, I guess.
Well, something fun to do with your family. Yeah.
So tell us about that, and that is towards the fall, right?
Yeah. So
What
in the
happens
fall, so last year actually was our first year doing a corn maze. We've kicked the idea around for quite some time.
I was right on time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you found us in our first year of the corn maze. So.
It was cute. My son loved it. He still talks about it, actually.
Yeah, it was really fun, actually. It's really neat how, we plant the corn and then you go through and cut it and stuff.
Your map was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
No.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Pretty
And we
tricky a
could,
little bit.
and we set it up in 2 parts. So, and our rows are fairly wide so that when you're walking through, if you're a little bit claustrophobic, you don't feel like it's so tight and narrow. You could walk side by side with someone.
Right.
Or it's really flat and smooth, so like handicap wheelchair accessible kind of thing. You could take a wagon, with your kids, or a stroller, you know, when your kid decides they don't want to walk anymore.
Yeah.
But we split it in 2 parts so that if you got halfway through about a half hour and were like, this is not for me, I want out, you could get out.
Right,
And
I
then the
saw
second part,
It's
if
like
you
IKEA,
wanted,
you have an early exit.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Does IKEA have an early exit?
It does. Oh, you never found that one, huh?
Yeah, no, we must have missed that one.
I sneak into it from backwards.
Yeah, right? Yeah, so then you can keep going around the second half. And we're going to do that again this year with the maze design that we came up with this year.
Oh, you changed the design?
Yeah, so we'll have a brand new design, a new theme.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. We're excited about that. But then, we made it so it was GPS capable. So you could go through on your cell phone if you wanted and get these checkpoints. You could play games. If you wanted to just take the old school map and go through, or if you just wanted to walk through and get lost.
Is it like an app? Is it like a corn maze association? How did you get this GPS thing going? No, serious. How does that work? Is that a template?
Well, I'll let Cordell explain that part.
Did you design that too?
Yeah.
No, I didn't design that. We use a company actually that provides that GPS on a cell phone functionality.
Okay.
Yeah. So we pay a subscription for that, but it's not enough money that we couldn't do it because it's such a neat feature to have, especially with the older kids because
Yeah.
And we can tailor it too. Like we've had schools come out, youth groups, church groups, little kids. The volleyball team came out. We can tailor those signs. Like there was 10 checkpoints.
Okay.
So when you get to a checkpoint, then you kind of can see where you're at in the maze. Like, oh, I'm here, like the thing at the mall, so you know where you're at.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what the sign is, those 10 signs.
Right.
And on there, if you want to do these trivia games and questions, you can scan it with your phone or just answer the question, and it's like, is Scooby-Doo a dog or cat or a mouse? And if you say Scooby-Doo is a cat, it tells you to go the wrong way. If you say the right answer, it tells you to go the right way, kind of thing. But like when schools come out and stuff, they can tailor those to their own.
Make their own
questions is what I'm trying to say.
That's
I guess.
pretty cool.
Yeah, so like if the 6th grade science class came out and their teachers, like, they knew that week they were going to be working on whatever their subject was.
Yeah.
Ahead of time, they could make those 10 questions. So as the kids are going through, not only are they going through this fun maze.
Yeah.
If they were paying attention on Monday at school and today's Friday, like they've got the right answer to the
That
science
is cool.
question. Yeah, so it was really neat that we could tailor it to different groups when they came out. So
It's
it was
amazing
really fun.
that the digital world and
Yeah.
like that is connected now to like an outside hike.
Yeah,
Or,
and it's as much as or little as you want. We
Yeah.
always gave everybody an old school map,
Yeah.
that showed the numbers.
I
And,
took the old school
you know,
one. I don't even know. I didn't even know
Yeah.
about the GPS
Yeah,
thing.
right. And so
I've
you could try to
missing-
follow that and go
God,
through
I'm
that.
old.
And I kind of prefer that too. Like going through, it just depends.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
And we had people that were like, I don't need a map.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
go for it.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so that's great. So it's whatever you want it to be.
Fun.
However much you need,
Fun.
or you can watch yourself and it'll, do you want to watch yourself walking? And it'll show you on your phone in real time as you're walking. So if you're like, I don't want to, you can zoom in or out and see, oh yeah, I need to turn here. I need to turn there.
Sure,
and just,
sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
How many people came, if I may ask? Like, was it a great success? Was it hundreds or
I mean, the weekends were pretty cold and rainy last fall.
True.
It did get kind of icky out, but we had a pretty good turnout, I think, for being a first year. Nobody really knew that we were doing this except for our strawberry customers.
Yeah.
We had told them in June, like,
it was so
hey,
cute.
you guys come back, this
You
fall.
had this 50s truck.
Yeah.
I had pictures.
Yeah,
you had the cow built out of the
straw. Yeah, a giant cow, like 2-story cow, and a big bear. Some people thought it was a dog. Whatever. It doesn't. I don't know what it was. It was to your own imagination, but
and
like
then
a little
bunch
pig
of
and
pumpkins.
Yep, pumpkins. So we grow pumpkins and gourds, and we've done that for a while. Our girls, Clara and Isabel, they're in kindergarten and 2nd grade right now. So we always have them very involved in the farm. And we grew up in ag, like we talked earlier, and so that's really important to us. And so they always help plant pumpkins and then help harvest them and that kind of thing. So people can come to the corn maze, they can get some pumpkins.
Yeah.
Just have a great time, bring a picnic, whatever. And
I bought a couple. That was the pretty ones.
Yeah. We had all sorts of pink, blue, orange, white, all sorts of different.
They were gone. I bought the white ones.
Yeah, you came a little bit later. Those ones go right away.
Oh, really? Yeah, pink? I
Yeah.
didn't even know.
Yeah.
So how many different pumpkins do they? I just know the orange one.
I think
I'm from
last
Germany. What do I
year
know?
I planted at least 30 or 40 different varieties.
Really?
So, yeah, and I had a couple requests. We have some fall weddings, and so brides will ask us to plant certain things. That way they don't have to worry about it, and they don't have to drive all over the county looking for pumpkins right before their wedding because they're stressed out anyways. And so we've got a gal this year that ordered, we send them the catalog, here, pick out what you like, and then I'll order the seeds and I'll plant them for you, and then you come at your convenience in the fall and pick up your pumpkins, and that way you're not worried about,
interesting service.
Yeah, and then we also, some of the churches do, fall harvest feeds and stuff, and so we'll plant a whole bunch of squash for that, and they pre-order, a couple 100 pounds or whatever, and so that way they know that they have it and they don't have to try to go all over, to different stores and try to find it in those large quantities, and exactly what you want. So
like a custom grower, like a
yeah,
craft
a little
grower.
bit, yeah.
For a wedding, of course.
Yeah, fall decor and stuff like that. So yeah, we do that, and it's been fun too.
There's so much more to your little farm than one may think. I mean, I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Interesting, but yeah. So did we hit 1,000 people? Like, I'm just like, how long is the maize season? Was it 4 weeks?
We did weekends. We did Saturdays and Sundays in September and October.
Right.
So, and we'll do that again this fall. And MEA weekend, we weren't planning on being open all of MEA weekend, but the weather was actually gorgeous that weekend. It was like the only nice weekend in October. So we completely changed gears at the farm and did different things and tweaked stuff around so we could be open those days so families could come out, with their kids because they weren't at school and whatnot. So that worked out good. So we'll probably plan on doing something like that similar again this year, depending on the weather. But
is that where you live? Was that house? That's your farm?
Yep. Yeah. So we live there. We've lived there for, since 2003 or something, I think.
15 plus.
Yeah. So there's an old farmhouse right up by the road.
Yeah.
And then our house, we lived in that house for a few years, and then Cordell built us a house up in the trees, so our driveway kind of keeps going further up into the woods, and then we live up in that house up there. So, but we did live in that original house, and that's where his grandparents lived and whatnot. So, in that old farmhouse. So,
cute.
Yeah, so we live on site, and that's,
Yeah, I thought so. And then there was like a goat, or like there were a couple animals, a pig.
Yeah,
was
so
that?
I,
grew
up with animals, and I love animals.
Petting
and
zoo?
like your dog.
Yeah. Oscar, yeah.
Yeah.
Just left
So, but anyway, so when we decided to do the strawberries, I've always had horses and show horses, and so our daughters, we were like, well, if people are going to come out to the farm, people can be, they're removed from agriculture anymore. You don't get hands-on stuff very much anymore,
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was like, well, if they can come out to the farm, we should, in my thinking, we should have as much stuff as they could see and touch and do, Like, this is a great excuse to have 1,000 animals. So we got some sheep. Yeah, our girls actually used their piggy bank money a few years ago when they were little and bought a few ewes, which are female sheep. And so then we had explained to them, okay, we'll buy the ram, the dad sheep, every year, and we can keep the baby girl lambs, but the boys have to go. And then if they ever want to sell any sheep, that's their money, and they can put that in the bank or kind of thing.
Yeah, very cool.
So we did that. So we got the sheep, and then the more things you have, just the more time and energy it takes. So a lot of times we like to borrow animals, or help people rehome them. Like, we'll have bunny rabbits, and usually we're borrowing those from someone, or 4-H kids that are looking to sell them or find them a new home. So they'll come and stay at our farm for a few weeks in the summer, and then we have up a cute little sign, if you are interested in, taking a bunny home, let us know, or kittens, or we had a calf, a little baby cow, a little bottle calf. And then at the corn maze, we also had some potbelly pigs and a mini pony. And
I saw that.
Yeah, just all sorts of cool stuff that, kids can see and touch, and it's just part of the, and we don't during strawberries, we tell people to come out, we charge by the pound. So you can pick as many or as little strawberries as you want. You don't have to have a heaping bucket full. And, the playground, the animals, all that is included and free. And it's kind of nice when people are checking out, their kids are running around and they're kind of right there, and they can play with the critters or sit on the swing set, and mom can, get her strawberries organized and whatever, and their kids aren't like, Mom, I want to go, and just stand in line, be quiet. So it's been a lot of fun.
So where are they all coming from? Were you able to converse, and are they locals, obviously? And you mentioned a volleyball team. I guess that's from the high school. But But did you, are they coming from St. Cloud, or besides the tourists that come from out of state? But were you able to capture a little bit your guests?
I'd say most of the strawberry guests were local people, just because maybe we're a little bit new. On the corn maze, we did have some people come from North Dakota that expressed that they'd traveled quite a ways. But on the other side, going into Minnesota, I'm not sure.
Okay.
We make a really big effort to try to talk to everybody, as we can, because we do get really busy, but, introduce ourselves and, just make sure people feel really welcome at the farm. And if they have any questions, what we do, how we do it, if they want to go see the new baby strawberries and what that looks like, and they're shocked that they're so tiny and small, but, in a few months they're going to look like this one over here. And so, we really try to be open to that kind of thing. Or if people contact us, in the middle of the summer and, can we come out and, see whatever? It's like, yeah, sure. We're usually always around, working or whatever. Just stop on out, or, call ahead and let us know, and we'll give you a tour or whatever.
It was a very family organized. I think you were driving the tractor around with and then you were running around. I think your daughters were checking us in.
Oh yeah,
you
there's
were all
people.
Over.
We're usually all over the place. And we hire extra help. When we are open and stuff, and usually local teens. They're a really good source of help, and we've had also good luck with school teachers, because they're off in the summers and they're not looking for like a hardcore job that's scheduled, 20 hours a week. They want the summer off, but they still want a little bit of something to do. And so we're super flexible with that. So we've had really good luck with having teachers come out and help us too. You know? And,
sure.
It's been good.
So when does it open? You said planting. When
strawberries. Strawberries is I usually tell people around the middle of June, so they start thinking about it. But we normally open around the 18th or 19th. It all depends on the weather.
Right.
So like right now, as the strawberries start to wake up, as they start growing, when they start producing a flower, then we can kind of make our countdown as to when they'll be ready and ripe.
And then you have a Facebook page? Where do you announce the opening?
Yeah, we do Facebook. We're always on there. And then we have a website, which is otterberryfarm.com.
Right.
And so we have stuff on there. That's updated, but like our Facebook is a lot easier to go in and make like live updates, you know, especially weather related. So, if it's raining or something, we can tell people, or if we happen to get picked out. Also our phone number, our phone number is the berry line or whatever, so people can call that, and it's
Oh yeah,
programmed.
I remember you had always an announcement.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I can.
I can program that with my cell phone, like out in the middle of the field or on the tractor or wherever we are, and we can change that and do that up to date. So we always tell people to call before you come out to the farm, especially if you're driving a distance, to make sure that we didn't have to close early because for some reason, if we had this huge rush of people and we got picked out for the day and we had to close for a day or two to let more strawberries ripen.
Is it that quick then?
It can be, yeah. And we stagger our plants. We plant different varieties that ripen at different times. So some are a little bit early season, some are mid-season, and some are late season.
Sure.
So people don't need to come out like on June 18th and get like the first big giant strawberry, because we always have big giant strawberries because we stagger our plants when they're growing and the varieties we have. So there's always going to be those big giant juicy strawberries.
I am getting my appetite for it.
I know, right?
Yeah. So one final question that I have is bees. Do you have your own beehives, or do you? I mean, the flower. Maybe some children don't know that anymore, but like there needs to be an insect to pollinate and to actually create the fruit, right? And we have a bee issue, right? Don't we? I mean, you read about it.
Well, I don't think we have a bee issue anymore, but we do have. There's the Hoffman apiary out of Richville. Actually, they run commercial bees on all our farms. So right at the corner of the farm, not like close enough that people can bother them. They're on the 80 that we are on though, and the bees do all our pollination. Strawberries are self-pollinating, so bees help. They're not necessary, but bees help. But we have a bunch of raspberries, and the raspberries have to be pollinated. And so the raspberries are pollinated, and the bees will pollinate the strawberries as well, but they don't have to, right? Do you know what I mean by self-pollinating?
It's not
so
required.
It's the wind that does it then, or
Yeah.
just the okay.
But yeah, so we do have some bee boxes, just kind of down the road. If you went past our farm a little bit, you would, if you were really paying attention, you'd see them kind of tucked away in this nook. But they're where people wouldn't be able to get to them or be bothered by them or whatever. So. But
they are not yours; they're rented.
No, well, we just let them set them there because he's a professional and he is a
Okay.
He's a bee guy. I would love to get into bees. I think they're absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, me too.
It's super cool.
I want bees.
I know,
wanna
right?
Have a bee I mean, you want all the animals. I just
know,
already
right?
heard.
Yeah. Well, my brother does maple syrup and had honeybees in Ohio, and I was like, this is so cool. Like, yeah, it is a really neat thing. But so. That's one. That's just one more thing to add to. It's like, oh, geez, you got stuff to do. So let the professionals take care of it, and they do an excellent job. We have fall-bearing raspberries. So they'll start like the end of August, and they'll go produce fruit until the first killing frost. So in Minnesota, that can be anytime.
You have
September.
raspberries. You just said
raspberries. Yeah.
So that's a different. And what is that for? Just
the raspberries come ripe actually during our corn maze.
Yeah.
Right before, like in the middle of August, I'd say.
Yeah, middle to end of August, they'll start to ripen.
So
so the bees, help with pollinating for that because you need those for raspberries.
But I don't know this, but I think we're one of the only corn mazes in the planet where you can walk through a corn maze and pick a bucket of raspberries at the same time.
Yeah, right.
I didn't find them. I didn't use the right map.
So like I said, it depends. They'll produce until the first hard killing frost in the fall, right? So one fall we had raspberries almost until it was like Halloween because we had such a beautiful fall and it didn't get cold at night.
Yeah.
Last year we had a hard killing frost in September.
Oh.
It was the end of September, and so they died right away.
Oh.
So we didn't even have any. I think we had them for 2 or 3 weekends. That we had some raspberries, and we could do some methods to help with frost protection, but it just wasn't in the cards last year to do that and water them at night and that kind of thing.
This year, I will look out for them.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So if you come to the corn maze, the first couple weekends of September, you're almost guaranteed to be able to get some raspberries also.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I usually close this, or I try to not forget, talk about lake life, other than you live in lakes country, and you just mentioned that you brought Kris here actually during the summer season. So what does lake life mean to either of you? Maybe you start because you are like me, new to Minnesota.
Yeah.
But what is lake life to you?
Yeah, well, lake life to me, I mean, it's just fun, relaxing, like family time. You know, you can get together with people, you can make memories, you can have fun. I'm actually not a water person, which is kind of funny. I'm not a swimmer. I never was. And so, but I like going on the boat and stuff. I like hanging out at the beach. I like going to the lake, but I'm not the person who's like gonna jump off the dock kind of thing. But I think it's super fun to be able to take the kids, go meet friends, you know, and just kind of hang out. And Minnesota is such a perfect place for that. We have such a long, cold winter sometimes, and there's tons of fun activities to do in the winter around here too. But the summer is definitely, you know, the gem of Minnesota, and so, yeah.
No, that's kind of like me too. What does a lake do to you? Is it?
Well, I guess so. Growing up here, I've been spoiled my whole life. I mean, comparing Perham to Bozeman, you know, I love the mountains, and some days I wish I lived in the mountains. But you know, what I noticed since I've left Montana, and even when I was in Montana, was the people that lived in Montana weren't up in the mountains every day. And so as an outsider, when I got there, every single day of the week I was up in the mountains, because when you're not from an area, you don't take it for granted. And it's interesting because when we came back to Minnesota, I just had this appreciation for the lakes that I never had when I had it in my backyard at all the time, right? And so since we've been back, we've got a boat, and we don't use the lakes as much as we should, but we see how valuable of a resource they are. I mean, it's world class, and people come from all over the world to vacation where we are fortunate to live every single day of our life. And so just to be able to have this tremendous resource. And I mean, people get a lot of grief for living here in the winter time, but it is a magical place in the winter as well. I mean, ice fishing is just tremendous. It's a world-class fishery. You get all the you get everything that you would get anywhere else in the world, except you've got all this beautiful snow and ice to deal with.
Yeah.
So, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's really calming. I enjoy the winters. It just can be a long stretch.
Right. Yeah. It can be long, but you know, when the warm weather does come, you know, it's like, 35 degrees is beach weather. Like
I know. Let's get the shorts, and then they wear flip-flops,
and you're running around, and it's awesome. Yeah.
It's pretty magical to have a true 4 seasons, and and I think you have a much greater appreciation for each one of those seasons when you have these distinct differences, because you know, even in a lot of areas in this country where you don't have these distinct seasons, I don't think it means as much, right? The warmth means way more to us having gone through that heavy winter, and the heavy winter means more to us having gone through 100-degree summer, right?
Yeah, the temperature fluctuations. So
I agree, and I like the lakes for everything, the calming and the activity opportunity and year round. Yeah. Well, that was very interesting. I'm excited for the next berry season.
Yeah, so it'll be here soon.
It will be here soon, and I make sure that I capture some nice photo evidence of the red strawberries to pick. So I think we will see each other again soon.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Well, hey, we have to say thank you so much, Dirk, for inviting us onto your podcast. You do a tremendous job, and thank you so much. So.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's been great. Yeah, we love listening to him.
Yeah, thank you. No, thanks for coming. Great story. Good luck, and I love that your kids are so involved, and I hope to see them again, and we will go through this maze this fall. We have a whole year here to share.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this was already our newest episode of the Lake Life Weekend podcast. We sure hope you enjoyed it. Tune in again next week with another great guest and updates. Always check out our website, lakelifeweekend.com, and if you have some comments, please feel free to email us at hello@lakelifeweekend.com, and you have a wonderful weekend ahead.